Claire and Daniel never thought their lives would change so quickly. 6 months ago, they happily welcomed their little son, Liam, with all the joy and hope in the world. But then, one fateful morning took that happiness away. Claire noticed that Liam was no longer moving his legs as before. At first, she thought he might just be tired. But in the days that followed, the silence of Liam's body became haunting. They took him to the hospital, where doctors conducted a series of tests. When the doctor stepped out with a solemn expression, Claire felt her heart stop. The diagnosis hit them like a plunge into an abyss. Liam has a rare form of paralysis, with an unknown cause and no cure. Claire held her son tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Daniel gripped her hand firmly. But inside, he was drowning in pain. The months that followed were filled with anxiety and sorrow. Each night, they watched their son lie motionless in his crib, their hearts heavy with helplessness. Just when Claire and Daniel thought nothing could comfort them, Claire's sister suddenly gave them a gift. When Claire opened the door, a small golden puppy darted into the house, its tail wagging non-stop. Its bright brown eyes sparkled with curiosity and excitement. "I think you need a friend," Sarah, Claire's younger sister, said as she placed Max on the floor. "Just give it a try. Who knows? It might help you feel a little better." Claire looked at the clumsy little puppy on the floor. She had never owned a pet before. And right now, her heart had no room for anything other than her worries about Liam. But Sarah's pleading eyes made it impossible for her to refuse. Daniel picked Max up, feeling the warmth of its tiny body and the softness of its fur. The puppy stretched its head toward him, its pink tongue gently licking his cheek as if to say hello. Daniel chuckled softly, perhaps for the first time in months. "Thank you, Sarah," Claire said, her voice still tinged with hesitation. Max quickly began exploring his new home. He ran around the living room, sniffing every corner, before trotting over to Liam's crib. Suddenly, the little puppy stopped. Claire held her breath as she watched Max stare intently at Liam. He didn't bark, didn't scratch at the crib, he just stood there, silently observing the motionless baby. After a moment, Max slowly lay down, resting his head on the crib's railing as if keeping watch. "That's strange," Daniel murmured. "He already seems to care about Liam." Claire didn't know what to think. Weren't puppies supposed to be playful, running around everywhere? But Max didn't seem interested in that. He just stayed beside the crib, his eyes fixed on Liam with an indescribable sense of contemplation. In the following days, Claire slowly got used to Max's presence in the house. The little puppy was not just an ordinary pet, it had an unusual bond with Liam. Every morning, when Claire walked into Liam's nursery, she always found Max already there. It would lie beside the crib, head resting against the railing, as if unwilling to leave Liam's side. Whenever Claire changed Liam's diapers, Max would lift its head, watching closely with deep curiosity. When Liam slept, Max curled up next to the crib, its belly rising and falling in sync with the baby's soft breaths. Sometimes, Max would nudge Liam's tiny hand with its wet nose, as if trying to wake him gently. One afternoon, Claire placed Liam on a soft rug in the living room, hoping he would move even just a little. Max immediately trotted over and sat beside him. When Claire shook a toy in front of Liam but saw no response, Max bent down, touching Liam's tiny hand with its nose. Nothing happened. Claire sighed, a wave of sadness washing over her. But Max remained persistent. It gently licked Liam's hand before settling beside him, its eyes never leaving the baby. That night, as Claire and Daniel prepared for bed, she whispered, "Have you noticed how Max seems unusually attached to Liam?" "Yeah," Daniel nodded. "I don't know why, but it's like he knows Liam needs him." Claire smiled softly, though she didn't believe in miracles. Max's presence somehow brought her a little comfort. One evening, as Claire was folding laundry in the living room, she heard a light scratching sound from Liam's room. She walked in and saw Max standing on its hind legs, scratching gently at the crib's railing, its head tilted as if trying to signal something. "Max, what is it?" she asked, stepping closer. When she looked down at Liam, her heart stopped. Liam's eyes were open, and his tiny fingers were twitching. Claire gasped, her hands trembling. She rushed to the living room. "Daniel, come here, quick." Daniel ran in, confused by Claire's urgency. When he looked at Liam, his eyes widened in shock. Liam's fingers twitched again, then his wrist, and, as if something deep inside him had been awakened, he let out a soft whimper. Max's tail wagged excitedly, his eyes shining with joy. He lifted one small paw and gently placed it on Liam's bed as if cheering him on. Daniel knelt beside the crib, grasping his son's tiny hand. "My love, you're doing it. You're moving." Claire burst into tears. She had never thought she would see this moment again. She turned to Max, her heart swelling with gratitude. That little puppy, just weeks ago, something Claire wasn't sure she needed, had now become the light in their lives. That night, Claire sat beside Liam's crib, stroking his soft hair, her heart full of hope. She reached down, gently patting Max's head and whispered, "Thank you, Max. You are truly a miracle." After that miraculous night, Claire and Daniel still couldn't believe what they had witnessed. They hardly slept, sitting by Liam's crib, holding their breath as they waited for every little movement. After months of immobility, Liam had finally been able to move his hands and legs, something the doctors once said was nearly impossible. The next day, they rushed Liam to the hospital for a checkup. When the doctor examined the baby's reflexes, he couldn't hide his astonishment. "This is unbelievable," the doctor murmured. "His arms and legs are responding. This is a significant improvement." Claire clutched Daniel's hand, tears of joy streaming down her face. But the doctor remained cautious. "While this is a good sign, the recovery process won't be easy. Liam's muscles have been inactive for a long time, so he will need intensive physical therapy. The most important thing is that he needs strong motivation to continue progressing." Claire turned to look at Max, who was sitting quietly at her feet. The little puppy seemed to understand everything. Its bright eyes conveyed a silent promise. It would be there for Liam every step of the way. In the days that followed, Claire and Daniel embarked on a new journey, the journey of helping Liam recover. Every morning, they took him to the physical therapy center, where specialists guided them through simple exercises to stimulate the baby's muscles. At first, Liam was weak. He would get exhausted after just a few minutes of therapy, each time he tried to stretch his arms or move his legs. His face scrunched up with effort. There were moments when Claire felt hopeless. But Max never did. Every time Liam practiced, Max was there. When Liam struggled to lift his hand, Max gently placed his paw on it, as if to encourage him. When Liam tried to sit up, Max lay down beside him, patiently waiting, his eyes filled with determination. One day, Liam was attempting to lift his tiny arm off the floor but couldn't. Frustration welled up in his eyes, and he was on the verge of tears. Max stepped closer and gently licked Liam's hand. That small touch seemed to ignite something within him. Liam tried again, and this time, his arm lifted ever so slightly. Claire gasped and then started sobbing. "Daniel, did you see that? Our son did it." Daniel nodded, his eyes shining with joy. He looked at Max with gratitude. This little puppy was more than just a companion, it was a silent force, giving Liam the strength to keep going. After a few weeks of training, Liam's ability to move his arms and legs had significantly improved. Claire and Daniel decided to take him back to the hospital for another evaluation. The doctor carefully examined Liam, testing his reflexes and measuring his movements. Then, he turned to the parents with a look of disbelief. "I don't know how to explain this," he said, "but Liam's recovery is progressing far faster than we expected. It could be his strong will." He glanced at Max, who was sitting obediently by Liam's feet. "Or maybe, he has a very special friend helping him." Claire let out a soft laugh through her tears. She bent down, stroking Max's head, overwhelmed with gratitude. "We believe that too." One late afternoon, Claire was tidying up the living room when she heard Max barking excitedly. She turned around and froze. Liam, her precious baby, was standing up for the first time, holding onto the couch for support. Daniel rushed into the room, his eyes wide with shock. Liam, though still wobbly, was standing firm. Max stood right beside him, watching him with bright, encouraging eyes. Claire covered her mouth, tears spilling over. "Liam, you did it." Daniel ran forward, scooping Liam into his arms. Max jumped up and down, barking joyfully as if celebrating this monumental achievement. It was a moment their family would never forget. Liam's journey of recovery was far from over. But now Claire and Daniel no longer felt hopeless. They had learned that miracles don't always come from medicine alone, sometimes they come from love, perseverance, and the unwavering support of a loyal friend. Max didn't just help Liam physically recover, he brought Claire and Daniel back from the depths of despair. From a small puppy given as an uncertain gift, Max had become the hero of their family. And from that day forward, Max was not just a dog, he was family. As time passed, Liam continued to recover day by day. At first, they were small movements, then efforts to maintain balance, and finally, his very first steps. And every time Liam made progress, Max was there, like a loyal friend who never left his side. Max was not just a pet, he was a part of Liam. As if their souls had been connected long before they met. Even though he couldn't speak, Max had a special way of communicating with Liam, a deep understanding that went beyond words. Every morning, when Liam woke up, Max was already waiting by his bedside, wagging his tail excitedly. If Liam was upset or restless, Max never left his side, he would lie quietly next to him. His eyes filled with concern. When Liam started to learn how to crawl, Max would step back little by little, as if encouraging him to move forward. "Look at that, Max is teaching him how to crawl," Claire whispered to Daniel, tears welling in her eyes. Max never needed to say a word, yet he always knew when Liam needed encouragement. If Liam fell, Max would immediately stand beside him, wagging his tail as if to say, "It's okay, try again." If Liam succeeded, Max would jump up with joy, his eyes sparkling with excitement. One late afternoon, Claire placed Liam on the living room rug, setting a toy in front of him. Liam was still weak, but his eyes lit up when he saw Max sitting nearby, his front paws resting gently on the floor as if waiting for something. Max leaned forward, gently nudging Liam's hand with his nose. Liam suddenly burst into laughter. That sound, so pure, so full of life, rang out like music in a house that had been silent for too long. Claire covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Daniel, he's laughing. Our baby is laughing." Daniel rushed in, seeing Liam reaching out, trying to touch Max's soft fur. Max remained still, his gentle eyes filled with warmth, as if he had been waiting for this moment all along. It was Liam's first emotional response, not towards his parents, but towards Max. Under the guidance of doctors, Claire and Daniel continued helping Liam practice walking. Every day, they would try to help him stand, hoping he would take his first steps. But the biggest surprise was that Max was Liam's best teacher. One day, Claire stood Liam up against the couch. Max sat just a few steps away, watching him intently. Then, as if deliberately, Max took a few steps back, his bright eyes full of encouragement. Liam blinked, watching Max carefully. It was as if he understood the unspoken message. With all his strength, Liam lifted one foot and took a step. Claire screamed with excitement, "Daniel, he's walking." Daniel rushed into the room, his eyes wide in shock. They saw Liam wobbling forward, his legs shaky but determined. Max didn't move, he simply stood there, a steady point of focus for the little boy. One step, then another. As Liam got closer, Max gently lowered his head, nudging the boy with his warm nose. Liam let out a joyful giggle. He had walked toward Max. After that day, walking became easier for Liam. Max was always there, ready to help whenever he needed support. Claire realized that it wasn't just Liam who was being helped by Max, the entire family was. Max was not just a dog who assisted Liam's recovery. He was part of Liam's heart. When Liam laughed, Max wagged his tail happily. When Liam fell, Max was there to comfort him. When Liam was tired, Max lay close, a silent guardian protecting him from a pain he could never understand in words. One night, Claire and Daniel sat on the couch, watching Liam cuddle with Max as he drifted into sleep. Their little boy had regained his ability to move, to feel, to laugh, all because of a small dog with an enormous heart. Claire took Daniel's hand and whispered, "We thought we had lost all hope, but Max brought it back." Daniel nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. Max didn't just save Liam, he saved us too. And from that moment on, the unspoken love between Liam and Max continued to grow, proving that sometimes, love doesn't need words, it only needs to be felt.